How do you select a buyer's agency to work with? What is really the difference between the smaller boutique buyer's agencies like myself and the bigger agencies that are out there? So in this video, I'm going to talk mainly around my service. So if you're interested to work with me, this video would be useful for you. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jadu Srikandan. I'm a buyer's agent for property investors, and I buy properties all around the country using a data-driven approach. So if you want to work with me, go to my website, propertyframeworkbuyersagency.com.au, and book a session with me there. Now, let's start this off. Let's start off with market selection. So when it comes to market selection, I don't put clients into just one market. I use an approach where I look at around the country, look at different markets around the country, explain to clients where in the growth cycle these markets are positioned and which markets would be best suited to match their requirements. For example, if a client had a budget of 500,000 and was after short-term growth, I would suggest getting into markets in regional Western Australia that could give that. If they were after rapid capital growth, they wanted to take the profits and reinvest into a different market, I would suggest buying in Darwin, getting maximum capital growth over the next 3 to 5 years, and then taking those profits and investing into different markets elsewhere. For example, if they didn't really worry about short-term growth, they just wanted something stable over the long term, then I would suggest regional markets in NSW or Victoria for that under 500,000 price point. And if you had a slightly higher budget, for example, under 600,000, then the markets change based on your budget. Based off your budget, based off your requirements, the markets are being selected. And of course, your risk profile as well. If you have a different risk profile, the markets will change accordingly. So I really sit down and understand the type of investor you are before proposing the exact market that would best suit you. Now, this might not be possible with the bigger agencies because they might just be actively buying into one particular market. And so they might not actively listen to what you want in terms of your requirements, your long-term goals. It might just be that particular market where you get your properties in. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is client education. Now, when I work with a client, I want to make sure that they understand everything that I'm explaining to them, understand why I'm selecting a particular market. So that is why when I sit with them, I make it a point to explain the data trends that I'm seeing in each market. I go through factors like days on market, inventory levels, vacancy rates, population growth, infrastructure projects, and things like that in different markets around Australia. At the same time, I go through each area explaining where it is in the market cycle, how much short-term growth that market can expect, what can you expect from that market in the long term, whether this is a volatile market or not. So I really make it a point to educate clients around those topics. And then the biggest thing that I want to educate clients is the concept around risk, around market volatility. Investing into a market only becomes a risk if you are not sure of what's going to happen in that market. For example, let me give you an example, okay? Darwin. Now, a lot of people think Darwin is high risk, and if you buy into Darwin, your property values would fall in value. But if you know when to enter and when to exit the market, you're mitigating that risk. So knowing the risk and then having a plan in place to mitigate that risk is how you make a lot of money. You have to take calculated risk to make money in property investing, and that's what I educate my clients on. Yes, there is some volatility in this market, but it's also an opportunity for you to make money. You can get that money and then maybe reinvest that money elsewhere into a more stable market. So that education is really important. And another thing that I always notice is that, especially with first-time investors, they're just so worried about maintenance issues. So make it a point to explain to them that maintenance issues are part and parcel of the property investing game. You will have 2 to 3K of maintenance expenses every year, for example, while the property is moving up in value by 60, 70K. So maintenance expenses are just part and parcel of the game. It's nothing too much to worry about. I know investors who just sell off the property just because they have a few thousands of maintenance expenses. So it becomes really important to educate the investor about the long-term benefits of property investing. And that's what I'm big on, to make sure that the clients really gain the benefits through property investing in the long term. Number 3, there is no pressure from my side for you to buy properties and close the deal. What I mean by this is that when you work with bigger agencies, they have massive marketing costs. Okay, for them, volume is important. The deal turnover rate is very important. Okay, but with myself, with the smaller boutique agencies, I only work with a limited number of clients every month. So I have the flexibility of presenting many properties to clients until they are really happy with one. Okay, for example, with one particular client, I had to present her up to 40 different properties before she said yes to one. Now, these were all good properties which passed all the due diligence, but then being a first-time investor, she was looking at things like how the kitchens look like, how the walls look like, and I had to spend a lot of time educating her and then making sure that she was making the right decision. So it took quite a few properties before she learned that, but it was well worth it in the end. So at no point there won't be any pressure on you to buy a property and close the deal. Now, the next one is the biggest thing, and that's the personalized service. Now, when you work with a bigger buyer's agency, you might not get access to the founder or the person who's built out the portfolio. You might be working with someone who is junior, and then they'll be taking care of you throughout entire journey where you buy that property. And whereas with smaller boutique agencies like myself, I work with you directly. I answer all your questions. I'm flexible with my timings. I answer call even after working hours. In fact, I've spent an hour on a call recently for a client at 9 o'clock when he had an urgent problem that popped up. So I was there to address that issue. So that personalized service, getting instant responses to all your queries, I think is really important, and you need to have someone you're comfortable to work with, because this is an important decision. You don't want to feel intimidated by that person. You don't want to feel pressurized. We just want to be yourself and be able to communicate ideas with that person, and I'm open to that kind of thing, and that's what I also enjoy doing. Okay, sharing ideas with the clients and be open to their ideas and receive feedback as well. And then I just want to share a couple of examples where 2 clients recently, they worked with bigger buyers agencies before. There was one client, he purchased his first property with a bigger buyers agency, and then he wasn't really happy with the level of support he received. For example, during the build and pest inspection, there was no support that he received from the agency, and therefore he had to coordinate everything with the build and pest inspector himself. Whereas with myself, I work very closely with the build and pest inspector, and I work closely with the client, highlighting any major issues that pop up in the build and pest inspection, making sure that the client is aware of all the problems and ensuring that everything flows smoothly through the deal. A second client, he wasn't really happy with the lack of personalization another buyer's agency provided him, and this was a bigger buyer's agency. They were presenting properties to him, but they didn't listen to his goals. They were just throwing properties at him which they were buying for all their clients in, and so he didn't feel connected to them and he couldn't really continue with their service, and he wanted to work with me because I was big on education and he was really happy with the level of service that I provided. Those are a couple of examples where clients less bigger buyers agencies, and they felt that they might get more value in a smaller boutique agency like myself. And the last one, I don't want to use marketing hype. Now, I know there are some bigger buyers agencies out there who constantly promote their services as under market value. They get under market value deals all the time. But when you actually look at the deals that they are presenting, you'll see that they're not actually under market value. To be fair to them, these are properties at fair market value, but then they shouldn't be promoted as under market value properties. With myself, I'm very transparent that, in a hot market, you're not going to get under market value properties. You can get something at fair market value, and therefore, with everything that you do through me, it'll be a transparent process. I'm not trying to market my services in any way and try to promote something to you which might be detrimental to you. That's pretty much what I wanted to explain a bit about the service and how I differentiate myself from the bigger buyers agencies out there. Now, this does not mean that all big buyers agencies are bad. There are some excellent bigger buyers agencies out there who use a data-driven approach to find very good deals for their clients. So in the end, it really depends on you, what you're comfortable with, and who you're comfortable working with. So that's it from me, guys. I hope you got some value in this video, and I'll see you in my next one.